Back during the 90s, I was an introverted guy which spent most of his evenings at home. I loved doing things like reading comic strips or playing some video games, but sometimes I would just grab a cup of coffee, lay in my bed, and watch a movie. The area which I lived in was known for some very disturbing stories. Few people went missing, so I was always inside my house by the time it was dark outside. As this was around holiday time, my parents decided to visit our family friend and spend the weekend there. I managed to convince them to let me stay at home since I had to finish an essay for school and I really didn't want to go. It was around 11 p.m. and I was a little sleepy, but the rain and the cup of coffee sounded way too good for me to just go to sleep, so I decided to watch a movie. I put on the Silence of Lambs, which came out just a few years before. I made myself comfortable and started watching. I think it was around midnight and my phone just suddenly started ringing. It was surprising as nobody called me before this late. Seeing that I don't recognize the number, I hesitated a bit. I still answered as I thought maybe my parents were calling from our friend's house. When I picked it up, I didn't even hear a voice. It sounded messed up and I kept hearing a beeping sound. The call ended after a few seconds and my phone went black for a moment, which never happened before. I still remember that night very vividly as our town has never seen a rain like that before. Before I could get back to watching the movie, my phone rang again, but this time I could hear a voice, but just as a whispers. I tried to figure out what the voice was saying, but it was so disturbing that I couldn't understand anything. After a few seconds of silence and shock, I asked who's calling, but all I got back was some weird, creepy laughter. I didn't get my answer, and the voice was so unusual that I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. The storm outside suddenly got worse, and I was starting to feel more uneasy. I was looking at the TV screen, and there were some disturbing scenes in the movie at that moment. The call didn't end, and the voice was still whispering something. I saw a shadow moving in my room, but thinking back, it was probably just fear which made me see things. Then out of nowhere, the call ended. As the movie kept going, it was exactly 12 a.m. and I started shaking. I turned off the movie and sat in my room in silence for hours, glancing at the phone expecting another call. I didn't get the call that night. Actually, I never got the call again. All I know is a week later, I overheard my father, who was a police officer at the time, talking about the woman which was killed. She died at 12 a.m., one street away from our house, at the exact date that I got that phone call.